Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first episode of Podcast with Raj. In this episode, we have called Dr. Hemang Shah. He is an angel investor. He is the lead of the Make in South Africa startup program of Kolka, and he has too much experience in entrepreneurship and investing and all. But in this episode, we have talked about both the aspects of life, that is, about the career as well as life. What a youngster can gain from the experience of a person, and especially a person like Mr. Hemang Shah. So, I don't want to tell everything about this podcast. You will get to know as soon as you watch it. So, you continue with the same and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the podcast with Raj. Hello, sir. Welcome to this podcast, and I am very thankful that you're here. So, coming to the question part, like, first, if you can introduce yourself for my audience.
Sure, Raj, thank you for having me here. Raj, I've been, you can say, a tech professional for a good maybe a couple of decades now. I spent the first early years of my postgraduate career getting my doctorate in engineering. So I got it from Drexel University in Philadelphia. Uh, so, and after that, I joined a company called Qualcomm where I'm still employed.
Yeah.
And I work on various startup programs for them, but I've held various roles, working on the R&D side of things, working on the core engineering side of things, then on intellectual property strategy, and now I work closely with startups in India.
Okay, so it seems that you have more experience than our age, sir.
Not quite, not quite. I guarantee, but give me a couple of years, I'll get there.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Before starting this, can we go to your college life? Like, how was your college life or your school life? Starting from the school life, like, how was the your school life? Then how you get into college and all?
School life was nothing remarkable, I would say. I was a good student. That's what I can say. But I was an overweight, but a good student.
Okay,
Like
sir.
really, really heavy kid. My kids, my friends used to call me Jadia, which means fat in Gujarati.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and that's how. But school was, I was very good in studies. I was very good at sports also, but just somehow the weight would never come off. And that changed in college because in college, I guess the metabolism things must have kicked in, and so I shrunk and I grew up.
Yeah.
So that's how my growth happened. But even college was more of a happy-go-lucky sort of atmosphere which I had, with all my friends. Yeah, I mean, I was serious about studies, but I was equally serious about having fun.
Okay. So you were balancing both of the things in your college life.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, because without fun, it's boring, right? You don't want it ever to be like just books and studies and very serious stuff. You always got to have time to. Well, you always have to make time for fun and things which excite you.
Because, sir, I am asking this question as nowadays the people of my like students, they have one complaint that they don't have time, and that they can't do coding, and then with that one more passion, if they have, if they want to follow their passion also, so they are like, I don't have time, I can't do this with this, like with maintaining their academics they can't maintain their passion or something. So
In a way,
we
that's
thought
correct
about
also because you can't get give time to everything, right? You can't give time to, let's say, you want to watch a 3 hour movie,
yeah.
and after that you also want to go out with your friends, for some pizza and other stuff and all that. But you also want to be coding up all night long.
Yeah.
It cannot sustain. So they're right when they're saying that.
Yeah.
But then to just disregard one side completely, whichever side it is, to just be on fun is a disservice to your talent because you all are very smart uh, people. Like I've interacted with you, I've interacted with all your fellow students,
Yeah.
very smart folks.
Yeah.
You have that talent, and to ignore that and say, okay, we are just going to focus on fun and only fun, that's a disservice to your talent. And likewise, if you're like, hey, we are just going to be just 100% logged in, no studies, nothing else, no nonsense, then you will not discover other things that will bring about not only your personality elements out,
Yeah.
but you'll also get better ideas.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting ideas don't happen in the environment where you're studying or working. They happen outside of that.
Okay.
And your experiences, the fun which you do, the night outs which you have, the no agenda conversations, those can spark creative things,
Yes.
and they can get you to places where you've never thought of.
They even this can lead us to like connecting with more people, which may can help us in our future. These type of
I
fun.
mean, I discovered a lot of things about, say, career options and all that, or even research areas just by talking with people. Those are
Yeah.
not planned. Those are not like, hey, I want a hour of your time and can you give me advice on what to do?
Yeah.
Sure, I got advice that way also.
Yeah.
But the stuff which I ended up acting upon, a lot of that just came about through hallway conversations, came about talking over pizza and all, like where was just like a random conversation and which gave you some idea, a spark ignited, and then things took over. You meet interesting people also that way. So yeah, I mean, always make time for fun.
Yeah. So, if you have a chance that if you can go back to your college life and you want to change something, so what would be it be?
I actually won't change anything because I've made mistakes. I've, I've had good things also happen because of that. To
Yeah.
go back in time again, if you've seen Doctor Strange, right? You
Yeah.
go change one thing in time. You think, "Hey, I'll just change one thing."
Yeah.
It can unravel a whole different world, right? So
Yeah.
you'll get into a multiverse, which you don't know.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be happy with my my universe right now. And I do go back to my college very often, and I live those days and all that. Uh, yeah, you always wonder that, hey, there is, oh, I wish I would have studied a bit harder in this area.
Uh,
Then I would have been a bit better now, possibly. But you know, I met my girlfriend, and now she's my wife back in college days. I met
okay.
some really close buddies,
Yeah.
just through my college. And if I would have studied harder, it would have meant that, hey, maybe I didn't get to enjoy their company as much as I enjoy now. And I don't want that.
So, sir, just now you told that you met your girlfriend and now your wife in your college life. So nowadays, like some of the parents or some of the students have this in their mind that relationships are not good while they are in college. They spoil their career. So, what is your thought in it?
I don't think you can look at it that way. Things happen. I didn't go out with an agenda that either girlfriend or no girlfriend, right? We're all
Yeah.
locked in.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
happened. But yeah, we both, the thing is, both of us, like even my wife, she was a very good student back then.
Yeah.
But equally, similar mindset that, we are not just 100% about studies. But yeah, when it's time to study, we lock in. So we were never distracted that way. In fact, the two of us won several paper competitions,
Yeah.
like at IET and IEEE, paper writing competitions. So we were good in those things also. Uh, but we never let that, let the distraction part take over, things. So yeah, when it was study leave, it was, study leave seriousness.
Yeah.
But when it was not that way, like, yeah, ठीक है, let's go around, let's watch movies and all that.
So it's like have a relationship. So it's like have a relationship which can help you build your career.
Yeah.
Not necessary, because you should not look at relationships that way. And we didn't look at it that way.
Okay.
Uh, our interests just happened to be aligned. If they were not aligned, if we would have done other things, I guess. Uh, but yeah, I want to touch upon that point also. I had a friend who was also, then this guy was from the finance industry, and he's like, hey, when I get married to someone,
Mm.
I want her to be in this exact field as mine. I'm like,
Okay.
no, don't be like that. You have to connect at a personal level.
Yeah.
What you do professionally can be different,
Yeah.
but to just have a hard-coded mindset that, hey, it has to be from this line and all that, you're missing out. You're again, putting yourself at a much smaller, I guess, viewpoint of life to look at. Don't
Yeah.
put that restriction. Don't uh, enjoy those relationships, whether it's friends, whether it's girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever be the case.
Now we have Gen Z, and like there is generation gap between you people and us because of the technology. Like, I'm not saying that you're too old now. so 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 in that case, what do you think that this generation is doing correct, or what they are doing wrong?
In the life.
So, firstly, they're very well informed,
Yeah.
and a good number of them are incredible thinkers at a young age. If I just compare to myself when I was that age, these folks are miles ahead. So the sky is the limit for them. I mean, there are certain factors to it also. Firstly, the amount of information they have access to, the amount of content, because
Yeah.
nowadays you can watch content from so many countries in the world, and with subtitles, it's much easier to follow stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did not have that luxury. So you can learn so much more, and you can see it in these kids. They're really a few steps ahead of where we were.
Okay.
Now, there are some commonalities also that even despite the information they have access to,
Uh,
they are confused.
yeah.
What to do with our life, what to do with our careers,
Yeah. Yeah.
and maybe it's because they have many options. So those parts are common. Even we were in the same boat, so those things have not changed.
Yeah.
And something which could be better is that while we did not have smartphones, I mean, when I was in college days, we had cell phones. So you
Yeah.
could only make calls and all that. The SMSs and also were only used for emergency as such.
Okay.
But this generation, what I feel is that a number of them are not cultivating real strong relationships with their friends.
Okay.
There's more of the social media friends that they have.
Uh-huh.
That yeah, I have thousands of friends here, I have
Yeah.
so many followers and all that,
Yeah.
which is understandable. I get that.
Yeah.
And you should go for that too.
Yeah.
But apart from that, make
Yeah.
sure you have a very strong, real friend base.
Yeah.
Because in the times which matter, these real people are the only ones which matter.
Okay.
Understood, sir. So, now till now we have been into little bit of informal questions. Now, since you told us that you have been working in Qualcomm, it comes into core company, right? So
Right.
Huh.
so nowadays, what is happening in colleges that people are only joining for tech, CS, IT only they want, and also core companies are not so much coming in colleges for placement. So if a student who is doing EC or triple E, they are also inclined to learn coding and go into IT industry. But some of them, they want a core company. Like, they are like, I don't want to go into IT. I only want to go into core. I'm not interested in doing coding and all. So, what their approach should be in their life from first year, second year, anything if you want to tell, and what are the things that they should keep in mind while they're in college?
Sure. So actually, I wrote about this in on LinkedIn today itself. I came across a report which spoke about careers in emerging tech areas and
Okay.
how can people prepare for that.
Okay.
And this is a question I keep getting asked time and again. Now, your
Okay.
question is not too different from that, right? It's
Yeah.
you're not asking about emerging tech; you're asking about core tech areas.
Yeah.
But the process is the same. So the first and foremost, regardless of whichever industry you go, your
Yeah.
fundamentals have to be absolutely correct.
Okay.
And that's one part which I wish I had worked on when I was a student.
Yeah.
Because you always want to know the latest and greatest. You don't care so much about the fundamentals.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in life, as you go on, you realize that if your base is strong, then you can easily build on things. You can easily adapt.
Yeah.
So always work on your fundamentals. Even if you're going to let's say, coding area, an electronics guy is switching to a coding role.
Yeah.
But that person knows how that electronic system works. That person will be able to transfer their skills even to a coding job.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first, get your fundamentals right. The second part, which uh, some courses teach it, but it's not fully absorbed, is called
Hmm.
as systems thinking. which is whatever you're learning, that's solving one piece of the puzzle. But you have to know what that overall puzzle looks like. How does one relate to other? What happens before the problem? What happens after you solve it? How does it benefit? So let's say if you're working on a, let's take the coding example. What was the need for that code to be there in the first place? Why is that a problem? Okay,
Okay.
so understand the landscape of that, and then again, after you've done your code, meaning you've solved that problem, what happens? What are the net benefits? Who all benefits? Like, does the consumer benefit? Does the consumer see that benefit? Does that
Yeah.
lead to a power impact? So have a systems mindset. So develop a picture of this block diagram of what the entire system is and how you fit into that puzzle.
Yeah.
And the third one is you have to learn the tools of the trade, which is whatever area you want to practice in. So look at a job as an area you want to develop further practice. Learn what tools, what skill sets are required for that. So if you're interested in semiconductor design,
Yeah.
you might have to know the different packages. It could be VHDL, it could be Verilog,
Yeah.
it could even be other scripting tools, because even semiconductor design or the testing of it rather, you may
Mm.
have to do a lot of Perl scripting or Python. So learn those tools of the trade, because when you learn the tools of the trade, two things happen. First is you understand, you can write on your resume that, yeah, I know this thing, I know this language and all that.
Yeah.
But more important than that is that you are putting that theory into practice when you're learning that tool. And so all your doubts, all your assumptions are cleared at that point itself. So career path may look very fancy. You're like, yeah, I want to be in this domain, man. This will be life changing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until you start working on it. And 2, 3 days after you start working on the tool which is required, like, man, I cannot do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So to recap those three things, get your fundamentals right, regardless of whatever field you are in.
Yeah.
The next one is develop a systems mindset. And the third one is you learn the tools of the trade. You do these three things, no matter which career you want to go into, you'll be fine.
Okay, so but nowadays youth, they have one more thing in their mind while they opt for their career. Like there are fancy words when they come to college, first year students. They're like, my seniors got this 20 lakh package or 30 lakhs package. So they have a doubt that in this they will get in IT industry, but will they get this much of package in score? So this is one of their questions.
So,
It's a fair question, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Because hey, why do you watch a movie? You found the trailer to be interesting,
Yeah.
right? That trailer attracted you. It could be the
Yeah.
stars, it could be the budget, it could be whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
These things are like that. That trailer got you in.
Yeah.
But ultimately, whether you make yourself on that path or not really depends on a lot of things. You have to prove yourself to be there. No one gets any package. Uh, there are some packages which you read about in the news,
Yeah.
and there are some which you'll never read about in the news. But you're
Yeah.
only getting a job if you're going to be solving meaningful problems for that company or for that organization. So make yourself worthy enough to solve the best problems. And if you have that capability,
Yeah.
you will land amazing jobs.
So, sir, just one question for a reference. If you can tell what is the highest package a person can get in a core industry?
I actually don't know.
Any.
I really don't know.
Okay.
Because because the reason is what you read in the news, right? Sometimes you
Yeah.
read about Indian salaries, and I'm not fully in touch with what companies are offering for fresh college grads.
Okay.
Okay, and then there are some which you read about the quoted in dollars and all that, but that might be a job opportunity for that US location or something like that.
Yeah.
So I tend to ignore all of that stuff,
Okay.
because ultimately it's like reading how much money a particular movie made at the box office
Yeah.
and then deciding for yourself if that is a hit or a flop. No, you decide, no, whether it's a hit or flop for you.
Yeah.
So meaning you take the control of the career in your own hands. Whatever others are making, they will make, and if they are making great, let them do it even better.
Okay.
Because if everyone rises, then even we will rise, no?
Yeah, it's fair point.
Yeah.
So now our PM has this thing called Atmanirbhar Bharat. So what do you think is about the core industry in India? That is it in a boom? People will get job in core, or it will be saturated? What is like?
I think the present few years that we'll have in India are going
Yeah,
to be ones for amazing growth across everything.
yeah,
Because you read various factors are there, right?
yeah,
Meaning even post COVID, especially like India as a country has been doing very well. There are a lot of sectors which are booming.
yeah,
Lot of areas are coming up. Meaning it's not just the Ford metros, Bangalore, uh, Pune, all those hubs. There are many hubs which are coming up.
yeah,
Overall, if you look at the infrastructure, if you look at whichever industry, pick any industry that is growing.
yeah,
On the telecom side, you are seeing a transition from 4G to 5G. So there'll be more deployments over there. There are semiconductor companies which are starting in India. There
yeah,
are AI-led research which is being done in India.
yeah.
Startups are there. So it's like you pick the area that you're most passionate about.
Okay,
From an engineering perspective, if you do that, I strongly believe that the scope in India is just amazing.
okay,
It's a matter of you finding, that right opportunity for yourself.
Like you have worked for a very long time. So what you have learned in your journey so far that you want to suggest the youngsters that they should not repeat it, because it's because a great person has said that learn from others failures or other mistakes. So what are the things that you want to tell to the youngsters?
It's a very good question, Raj. I have to think about this. Uh, the first I would say is early on in your career, you think that you will solve everything by yourself.
yeah,
And then you realize that you can only do so much on your own. And if you work with a team, if you enable others in your team to succeed,
yeah,
then eventually you will also succeed. It's like a cricket team that you might be the star batsman in your team and you may get out for zero.
yeah,
But if others are scoring around you, and if you end up fielding well, if you affect a few runouts, all that, you can make the team win and you can be a World Cup winner because of that.
yeah,
So that was one which is like I even in projects you will see in your college days, the ones who are really good, they want to do everything by themselves. But
yeah,
then there'll be the select few who make sure that that entire group is working well.
yeah, yeah.
That happier group will always deliver better.
Yes, sir.
So that was one major learning which took a while, and I wish I had learned that a bit sooner.
Yeah,
That to bring that team strength, that team diversity more into picture early on in my career.
okay,
I think that our audience will get something from this. Okay, sir. So you do many things. As of what I know, that you are a part of IEEE also. Now you work also, and then you have a podcast also. So how do you manage all these things? How do you manage your time with these things?
I have a very poor time management approach, but
okay,
what I am good at is carving out time for stuff which I need.
okay,
So if there is something which I feel that hey, I have not done my writing for a few days, I make sure I carve time for it.
okay,
Likewise, there are areas which I want to read, and
yeah,
if I don't get aside my reading time,
yeah,
uh, I do whatever is required to make sure I get my half an hour or 1 hour of reading.
okay,
It doesn't matter if it's very late in the night or very early in the morning. So some of those things are non-negotiable with myself.
okay,
So similarly for the podcast, right, where the podcast is is I'm able to work on it because I'm curious. I'm curious to
yeah,
know more from the other person. I'm curious to even explore my own thoughts in a deeper manner. When you write about something, when you give a speech out, or when you teach rather, you'll think much more deeper than when you just read that material.
yeah, yeah,
So that is my motivation. And No, so I don't have I've tried various time management approaches.
Okay.
Uh, None of a single solution has not worked for me. So I've tried, I go with the flow
Okay.
in some sense and try to fit whatever I want to during that day. Leads to chaos, but keeps it interesting.
So just now you mentioned that you do sometimes write, sometimes you do read. So reading in the sense like you read more this novels, fictional or non-fictional, sir?
These days, it's mostly non-fiction for me.
Yeah.
I do historical, but early on, I started as a big-time fiction reader.
Okay.
So I picked up reading novels when I was in my third standard or fourth standard,
Yeah.
and for a good number of years into my college days and all that, I
Yeah.
would read, let's say, the most popular fiction stuff which was out there.
Okay.
But it came to a point where I was like, okay, I think I've read enough of fiction, and I started getting more joy, more fun by reading non-fiction.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing nowadays.
So
It may change.
Yeah. So what do you think that youngs, because people nowadays are distracted because of this Instagram and YouTube and all. So these reading habits are going little by little. So how you think that reading shaped your life, or what it brought some changes in your life?
That distraction is a real enemy.
yeah.
It is an enemy for me also
Yeah.
because you have so much of stuff on every device that we use that it's hard to stay one track.
Yeah.
Uh, but when I read, it brings things into a standstill of some sort, where where you're in unison with what the author is trying to convey.
Yeah.
You're also trying to form your own thoughts,
Okay.
and that for me is the biggest takeaway. Because for us to evolve individually, also, you
Yeah.
got to have your own thoughts and opinions. You have to think deeper about something,
Yeah.
and if you're constantly scrolling, that cannot happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think is my way of saying that okay, I'm going to take a step away from all this scrolling stuff,
Yeah.
and instead I'm going to be in the world of what the author is trying to tell me. But I'm not into speed reading. I'm not like I have to read, let's say, 100 pages a day. Even if you read 2 pages in that day, it's good
Yeah.
enough. But you give yourself time to say that, hey, do I agree with the author or not?
Okay.
What do I feel about this?
So you don't have to believe. You don't have to believe completely on the author. You have to see whether your mind is saying that it's correct or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll just be absorbing everything, right?
Yeah.
Then what's the point?
Yeah.
It's correct, correct. Not to do blindly everything. You have to think on something or
Question and same thing applies to your engineering reading material also, right?
Yeah.
Because you read so many things, you're like, okay, hey, does this work in practice? Does it work in the real life as the book says it does?
Okay.
And nowadays you have so many tools to test it out, right? You're like, yeah, I think it fails in this scenario, and here's how
Yeah.
I would change it.
Yeah.
That's how you come up with original ideas.
Okay.
So you have to challenge what you're reading also.
Okay.
so. For this meeting, sir, I would like to say end this because in this I just wanted to be little bit of informal questions about your life or something, and I thought too that about entrepreneurial journey and entrepreneurship. I thought that we can have another meeting in which we can just focus on that. So, thank you so much for having me as your host and coming to this podcast as my first guest.
So
No,
I.
thank you so much for having me here. This was really fun. I mean, you
Yeah.
made me think about topics I've not thought in a very long time.
Okay.
So, so thank you for taking me back.
Okay. No, sir, actually, I just wanted to have this so that college students can get something in their life from this podcast. Not only technical things, but some personal things if they want to, relationships and time management and everything. I hope that all the questions were relevant.
Oh,
Uh,
they were. They
yeah.
were.
This was the end of this first podcast on this channel. I hope this was very informative for you. I hope you liked the conversation with Mr. Hemang Shah. Do drop your comments on what were the good things we did in this, and what are the things that we need to improve. And do subscribe to the channel, as we will be uploading more podcasts in the coming future. And we have one more podcast lined up right after this with Mr. Harsh Goel. He's a YouTuber with 130k subscribers, and also he has 130k followers on Instagram and more than 10k followers on Twitter. He That podcast will be more informative about your coding related questions and how to prepare for your placements and internships. That podcast will be released soon on this channel, so do subscribe and like this podcast so that it reaches to more audience and many more people can gain knowledge from this. And do share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. Bye bye.